Damien, the show is over. Please stop. Thank you. Here we go. We're going to get right into the story because we have 3 long chapters today. So let's get right into it. Chapter 18, and I did press record, so here we go. A minute later, they were out in the open, standing on the very top of the peach, near the stem, blinking their eyes in the strong sunlight and peering nervously around. What happened? Where are we? But this is impossible. Unbelievable. Terrible. I told you we were bobbing up and down. We're in the middle of the sea, cried James. And indeed they were. A strong current and a high wind had carried the peach so quickly away from the shore that already the land was out of sight. All around them lay the vast black ocean, deep and hungry. Little waves were bibbling against the sides of the peach. But how did it happen? Where are the fields? Where are the woods? Where is England? Nobody, not even James, could understand how in the world a thing like this could have come about. Ladies and gentlemen, I am afraid that we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation.
Awkward? My dear old grasshopper, we're finished. Every one of us about to perish. I may be blind, you know, but that much I can see quite clearly.
Off with my boots. I cannot swim with my boots on.
I can't swim at all, nor can I, nor I. None of us 3 girls can swim a single stroke.
But you won't have to swim. We are floating beautifully, and sooner or later a ship was bound to come along and pick us up. They all stared at him in amazement.
Are you quite sure that we are not sinking? The ladybug asked.
Of course I'm sure. Go look for yourselves. They all ran over to the side of the peach and peered down at the water below. The boy is quite right. We are floating beautifully. Now we must all sit down and keep perfectly calm. Everything will be all right in the end.
What absolute nonsense. Nothing is ever all right in the end, and well, you know it.
Poor earthworm,
Ladybug said, whispering in James' ear.
He loves to make everything into a disaster. He hates to be happy. He is only happy when he is gloomy. Now, isn't that odd? But then I suppose just being an earthworm is enough to make a person pretty gloomy. Don't you agree?
If this peach is not going to sink, and if we're not going to be drowned, then every one of us is going to starve to death instead. Do you realize that we haven't had a thing to eat since yesterday morning?
By golly, he's right. For once, Earthworm is right.
Of course I'm right, and we're not likely to find anything around here either. We shall get thinner and thinner and thirstier, and we shall die a slow and grisly death from starvation. I'm dying already. I'm slowly shriveling up for want of food. Personally, I would rather drown.
But good heavens, you must be blind.
You know very well I'm blind. There's no need to rub it in.
Oh, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry, but can't you see?
See? Oh, how can I see if I'm blind?
James took a deep breath, a slow breath. Can't you realize that we have enough food here to last us for weeks and weeks? Where? Why, the peach, of course. Our whole ship is made of food. Jumpin' Jehoshaphat! We never thought of that. My dear James, said the old green grasshopper, laying a front leg affectionately on James' shoulder. I don't know what we'd do without you. You are so clever. Ladies and gentlemen, we are saved again.
We most certainly are not. You must be crazy. You can't eat the chip. It's the only thing keeping us up.
We shall starve if we don't.
We shall drown if we do.
Oh dear, now we're worse off than before.
Couldn't we just eat a little bit of it? I'm so dreadfully hungry.
You can eat all you want. It would take us weeks and weeks to make any sort of dent in this enormous peach. Surely you can see that. Good heavens, he's right again. It would take weeks and weeks. Of course it would. But let's not go making a lot of holes all over the deck. I think we'd better simply scoop it out of that tunnel over there, the one that we've just come by.
An excellent idea.
What are you looking so worried about, Earthworm? What's the problem?
The problem is, there's no problem.
Everyone burst out laughing. Cheer up, Earthworm, come and eat. And they all went over to the tunnel entrance and began scooping out great chunks of juicy golden-colored peach flesh. Oh, marvelous, delicious,
just fabulous.
Oh my, what a heavenly taste. She looked up at James and she smiled, and James smiled back at her. They sat down on the deck together, both of them chewing away happily.
You know, James, up until this moment, I have never in my life tasted anything except those tiny little green flies that live on rose bushes. They have a perfectly delightful flavor, but this peach is even better. Isn't it glorious? Miss Spider said, coming over to join them. Personally, I had always thought that a big, juicy, caught-in-the-web bluebottle fly was the finest dinner in the world until I tasted this.
What a flavor! It's terrific. There's nothing like it. There never has been. And I should know because I personally have tasted all the finest foods in the world.
Whereupon the centipede, with his mouth full of peach and with juice running down all over his chin, suddenly burst into song. Now, this song, students, will be part of your daily assignment because you have to find 5 rhymes. He loves to rhyme and he loves to sing. So here we go.
I've eaten many strange and scrumptious dishes in my time, like jellied gnats and dandy prats and earwigs cooked in slime, and mice with rice, they're really nice, which both are eaten prime. But don't forget to sprinkle them with just a pinch of grime. I've eaten fresh mud burgers by the greatest cooks there are, and scrambled dregs and stink bugs' eggs and hornets stewed in tar, and pails of snails and lizard tails and beetles by the jar. A beetle isn't through by just a splash of vinegar. I often eat boiled slobbages. They're grand when served beside minced doodlebugs and curried slugs. And have you ever tried mosquitoes' toes and watfish roes most delicately fried? The only trouble is they disagree with my inside. I'm mad for crispy wasp things on a piece of buttered toast, and pickled spines of porcupines, and then a gorgeous roast of dragon's flesh, while hung not fresh. It costs a bucket most, and comes to you in barrels if you order it by post. I crave the tasty tentacles of octopi for tea. I like hot dogs. I love hot frogs, and surely you'll agree. A plate of soil with engine's oil is super recipe. I hardly need to mention that it's practically free. For dinner on my birthday, shall I tell you what I chose? Hot noodles from my poodles on a slice of garden hose, and a rather smelly jelly made of armadillo's toes. The jelly is delicious, but you have to hold your nose. Now comes, the centipede declared, the burden of my speech. These foods are rare beyond compare. Some are quite out of reach. But there's no doubt I'd go without a million plates of each for one small bite, one tiny bite of this fantastic peach.
Everybody was feeling happy now. The sun was shining briefly out of the soft blue sky and the day was calm. The giant peach, with the sunlight glinting on its side, was like a massive golden ball sailing upon a silver sea. Next chapter. Chapter 19.
Look,
Cried the centipede just as they were finishing their meal.
look at that funny thing, Black, gliding through the water over there.
They all swung around to look. There are 2 of them. There are lots of them.
What are they?
They must be some kind of fish. Perhaps they've come along to say hello.
They're sharks. I'll bet you anything you like that they're sharks and they've come along to eat us up.
What absolute rot,
The centipede said, but his voice seemed suddenly to have become a little shaky, and he wasn't laughing.
I'm positive they are sharks. I just know they are sharks. And so in actual fact,
Did everybody else, but they were too frightened to admit it. There was a short silence. They all peered down anxiously at the sharks, who were cruising slowly round and round the peach.
just assuming they are sharks, they still can't possibly be any dangers if we stay up here.
But even as he spoke, one of those thin black fins suddenly changed direction and came cutting swiftly through the water right up to the side of the peach itself. The shark paused and stared up at the company with evil small eyes.
go away, you filthy beast.
Slowly, almost lazily, the shark opened his mouth, which was big enough to have swallowed a perambulator, which is a baby carriage, and made a lunge at the peach. They all watched aghast. And now, as though at a signal from the leader, all the other sharks came swimming in toward the peach, and they clustered around it and began to attack it furiously. There must have been 20 or 30 of them at least, all pushing and fighting and lashing their tails and churning the water into the broth. Panic and pandemonium broke out immediately on top of the peach. Oh, we're finished now. They will eat up the whole peach, and there'll be nothing left for us to stand on, and they'll start on us. She's right. We're lost forever.
Oh, I don't want to be eaten, but they'll take me first of all because I'm so fat and juicy and I have no bones.
Is there nothing we can do? Nothing we can do. Surely you could think of a way out of this, James. Suddenly they were all looking at James. Think, James, think.
Come on, James. There must be something we can do.
Their eyes waited upon him, tense, anxious, pathetically hopeful. Chapter 20. Well, there is something I believe we might try. I'm not saying it'll work.
Tell us quick.
We'll try anything, but hurry, hurry, hurry.
Be quiet and let the boys speak. Go on, James. They all moved a little closer to him. There was a longish pause. Go on, go on. And all the time while they were waiting, they could hear the sharks threshing around in the water below. It was enough to make anyone frantic. Come on, James. James murmured, shaking his head. I'm terribly sorry. I forgot. We don't have any string. We need hundreds of yards of string to make this work. What sort of string? Oh, any sort, just as long as it's strong.
But my dear boy, that's exactly what we do have. We've got all you want.
How? Where?
The silkworm, cried the old green grasshopper. Didn't you ever notice the silkworm? She's still downstairs. She never moves. She just lies there sleeping all day long, but we can easily wake her and make her spin.
And what about me, may I ask?
Said Miss Spider. I can spin just as well as any silkworm. What's more, I can spin patterns.
Can you make enough between you? As much as you want. And quickly? Of course, of course. And would it be strong? The strongest there is. It's as thick as your finger. But why? What are you going to do?
I'm going to lift this peach clear out of the water.
You're mad.
It's our only chance. The boy's crazy. He's joking.
Go on, James. How are you going to do it?
Skyhooks, I suppose.
Seagulls. The place is full of them. Look up there. They all looked up and saw a mass of seagulls wheeling around and around in the sky. I'm going to make a long silk string, and I'm going to loop one end of it around a seagull's neck, and then I'm going to tie the other end to the stem of the peach. He pointed to the peach stem, which was standing up like a short, thick mast in the middle of the deck. Then I'm going to get another seagull and do the same thing, and then another and another. Ridiculous, absurd, poppycock, balderdash, madness. And the old green grasshopper said, how can a few seagulls lift an enormous thing like this up into the air, and all of us as well? It would take hundreds, thousands. There's no shortage of seagulls. Look for yourself. We'll probably need 400, 500, 600, maybe even 1,000. I don't know. I shall simply go on hooking them up to the stem until we have enough to lift us up. They'll be bound to lift us up in the end. It's like balloons. You give someone enough balloons to hold, I mean really enough, then up it goes. And a seagull has far more lifting power than a balloon. If only we have the time to do it. If only we are not sunk first by those awful sharks.
You're absolutely off your head. How on earth do you propose to get a loop of string around a seagull's neck? I suppose you're going to go fly up there and catch it?
The boy's dotty.
Let him finish. Go on, James. How would you do it? With bait? Bait? What sort of bait? With a worm, of course. Seagulls love worms, don't you know that? And luckily for us, we have here the biggest, fattest, pinkest, juiciest earthworm in the world.
You can stop right there. That's quite enough.
Go on, go on. The seagulls have already spotted him. That's why there's so many of them circling around. But they daren't come down here to get while the rest of us are standing here. So this is what...
Stop. I won't have it. I refuse.
Be quiet. Mind your own business.
I like that. My dear earthworm, you're going to be eaten anyway, so what difference does it make whether it's sharks or seagulls?
I won't do it.
Why don't we hear what the plan is first?
I don't give a hoot what the plan is. I'm not going to be pecked to death by a bunch of seagulls.
You'll be a martyr. I shall respect you for the rest of my life.
So will I, and your name will be in all the newspapers. Earthworm gives life to save friends. But he won't have to give his life. Now listen to me. This is what we'll do. End of chapter 20. All right. Exciting stuff there. I love this book. I hope you're enjoying it. Let's go to Ryan. Ryan, do you have something to share today? Because you are up.
I think so. Yeah, I do.
All right. What you got for us?
I'm going to be singing my poem that I made.
Good. Do you have your video off?
Yeah.
You
I
can
do.
turn it back on. There you go. Go ahead and read your poem.
Okay. Okay. This is a poem that me and my daddy like, so I hope you enjoy. Some people like steak, some people like cake, but me and my daddy like milkshakes. We like our milkshakes with a cherry on top. We like it with 2 straws and vanilla and chocolate. Oh no, I got to go get a milkshake. We don't want to be late to our milkshake date. Yeah, but it's a date, so yeah.
Is that it, Ryan?
Yeah, that's the end.
Very nice. Let's all give him the snappy snaps.
Yeah.
Cool beans, man. Thanks, Ryan. Let's move on to Lena. What you got for us?
I have a drawing and a poem.
Okay. Are you
I
going to
can-
screen share?
Let me read this to you. A Cuban toucan walked by my house. For some reason, it was wearing a blouse. In that blouse, I saw a mouse. They walked in my favorite coffee house and asked if they had a flower shower. What I learned, my friend, is never let a toucan cook, or else you might end up in a brook.
Snappity snap, snappity snap. Very good, Lena.
And I also have a drawing I want to show you.
Okay.
This one,
Ooh,
I got it from a How to Draw.
I love those colors. Very nice.
Thank you.
Good job, Lena. All right. For Wednesday, we also have Swati. Let's find Swati on the list here. There she is. Swati, what you got for us?
So I have a poem and like a picture that doesn't go with the poem, but I just did it for fun.
That's good. Great.
Yellow and black bee in the air, flutting with wings with such a flare. It makes a buzz and stings me and I cry, but it became swollen up, only God knows why.
Oh my.
And here's my picture.
We're snapping for you. Okay, she's got a picture too.
Yeah. I did this like a few days ago. I'm still working on it though.
Ooh.
I'm working on the hair.
I like those eyes. You really captured the eyes. Those look really good. Nice job, Swati. Who else we have up for Wednesday? We heard from Ryan, Lena, Swati, Upton. Let's get to Upton. There he is. Hi, Upton.
Hello. Okay, I have a poem.
All right.
Birdies, birdies in the skies, you are many different kinds, up, down, all around, no one can catch you. In the night, you'll go bye-bye in no sight. That's all.
Yeah, back in the 50s, poetry was very popular in the 1950s, and they would sit around listening to each other in coffee houses. And when you finished the poem, everybody would snap their fingers instead of applause because it meant that they were cool and hip, and they were hipsters reading their poetry. So snappity snap. Thank you, Upton. Is that it? All right. So we heard from our people today. And now we need to look at the agenda, or the daily assignment. Let me pull that up. And let's scroll through this. Oh, I need to show you something here first. Well, we'll do it afterwards. All right, had our Zoom meeting. Now, chapters 18 and 19 and 20, how did they solve the lack of food problem? That's a pretty easy question. The centipede loves to perform. You need to look down at the end of this Word doc and find 5 rhymes that the centipede uses. He uses a lot more than 5. And I like this question. The characters inside the giant peach always seem to count on James to save them. How do you think this makes James feel? How is it different from how Aunt Spiker and Aunt Sponge made James feel? There's a big difference. So we have 3 things we're focusing on today with poetry: hyperbole, which means over-exaggeration; onomatopoeia, which is the sound that the word makes, like buzz and slurp;
And then stanza, which is a group of lines that's like a paragraph. A stanza is a paragraph in poetry. It's kind of like what a paragraph is in poetry, the stanza. You've got another editing about the arrowheads in space with the first Native American in space. Today it's writing dialogue. There's lots of dialogue in James and the Giant Peach. You can review that dialogue too in the 3 chapters we read, but there's a nice slide share, and then there's a brief quiz on putting the quotation marks in the right place when you're writing dialogue, because those quote marks indicate that somebody is speaking and it's showing you exactly what they said. I love this fiction question today. What would you tell the characters in your story? You fantasize about that? I have. I fantasize about magically popping inside of a book. You know, like suddenly you're in the book and you are a real person in the book. And they're like, where did you come from? How do you think they would feel and react? What would they ask you if you just popped into their story? Because we've talked about this before. Some stories are so realistic. It's like the characters are as real as the people that are next to you and live with you and are friends with you. All right, that really cool video on tic-tac-toe about poetry. Try finishing that up today and tomorrow. It really goes through every single thing about poetry there is in a very fun way. So I hope you are watching that and enjoying that. Now, about the hyperbole, onomatopoeia, and stanza. Okay, this is a stanza. It has onomatopoeia and it has hyperbole. So I use exaggeration, sound words, and a little stanza paragraph of poetry. Here it is. Whiz, slither, swoosh, bang. These are the sounds my pencil will make. Slap, thwack, whoosh, clang, as into the paragraph oven they bake. So you've got rhyme, 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 rhyme. Exaggeration, because my pencil's not really making these sounds, and I'm not really popping the paragraph into a paragraph. I'm really not popping the words into a paragraph oven. And it's a stanza, a set of 4 lines that is like a paragraph in your non-poetic writing. So that's what I'd like you to try today, is to make your own stanza. Did you get the questions yesterday? Pumpkins, because they grow on vines. This one needed letters that had 2 letters together, like letter, copper, butter. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And today the questions are tough. So think through them and see if you can get them right. There will be a mini book report on long ago and far away ancient Rome. It's not a long book, and it'll be just a mini book report. Read part 4 today. There's only one more part tomorrow. And then I'll assign the little mini book report on Friday. But it is a really good book. If you're having any trouble finding it, you've got to ask me. I will show you how to get there. There's a really cool video for social studies also on the arch. One of the reasons why the buildings in ancient Rome have stood the test of time was because they perfected the archway. And that is able to hold up things that are far heavier than anybody had ever stacked on top of other things before in this particular way. So watch the video and a 2-sentence summary as to why the arch is so important. If you go to Rome, you'll see arches everywhere in the ancient buildings. And you've got also beautiful places on Earth for geography, as well as the geography game. And then you can look through the color, fun fact of the day, and family fun. It's a really silly one today. So there you go. Okay, I'm going to share one more thing for you guys that you need to see and be reminded of, okay? All work assigned must be turned in. Ask if you need help. So make sure you get your work in, okay? I will now unmute everybody. If you have a question, it is your chance to ask.
Mr. Bagby,
Yes, Max?
I keep on trying to do the 360, but it still never works. I've tried downloading the video, but That won't work.
Do you just click on the video and it
Yeah.
doesn't work? It might be your computer. It might be a computer issue, Max,
Yeah.
because it's just a regular link to a regular video file that everybody else seems to be able to watch. I don't know what to say.
Me.
Um,
Me.
I could look into it and ask somebody else, but like a tech person, but I'm not quite sure why they would do that.
Okay.
You can try a different one, Max.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions today?
Nope. Nobody. I don't.
Nope.
Okay, I will be right here. You guys can talk amongst yourselves.
Damien has a question.
He does?
Yeah, he's raising his hands. Micah has a question too.
Amy, do you have a question?
How is he raising his hand? Wait.
Micah's
No, he raised his hand before, and actually, and I'll just say it right out loud, not to embarrass anybody, but if you keep messing around on the video while I'm reading, I reach over with my little mouse pad here, and I put you in the waiting room, okay? Which means you're out of the room for a little while. So if you keep playing around, if you keep trying to distract people, I have the ability to just like move you into another room until you get your act together. Okay? You guys can continue talking. I'm going to now go into duct tape.
Mr. Bagby?
Damien, you're eating whatever
Mr.
breakfast.
Bagby.
What?
Micah's having a question.
And Damien.
And Tina. And Hayden.
I can't hear them though.
Okay, I'm good. I was
Damien,
saying
unmute yourself. Damien, unmute yourself.
okay, I'm good. Never mind.
Mr. Bagby, unmute Damien.
I am. I have been.
Unmute yourself.
She can't. For some
Automatically muted me again.
Oh, there.
Never mind.
Donut.
Damien's eating breakfast.
Why it's eating like a bagel or